Have you ever just stopped to ask yourself the biggest, most fundamental question possible? I'm not just talking about the everyday why are we here, but literally at the very base of all reality, how come existence? It is the ultimate cosmic question. It was famously posed by the legendary physicist John Archibald Wheeler. Now, Wheeler wasn't just any physicist, right? He collaborated with Einstein, he actually coined the term black hole, and he was just a towering giant of 20th century science. So when a mind like that looks at the universe and asks a question this raw and foundational, you know the stakes are absolutely astronomical. In this explainer, we're diving straight into the deep end to explore a framework that boldly claims to have the answer to Wheeler's ultimate question.
And right alongside that massive mystery of existence is a second, equally staggering question from Wheeler. How come the quantum? We know the quantum realm is the fundamental building block of our universe, but let's be honest, it is notoriously bizarre. It's a realm where our everyday logic just seems to break down completely, where particles can apparently be in multiple places at once, and where just observing something actually changes how it behaves. Crazy, right? Why is reality built on such a deeply counterintuitive, almost magical foundation? These aren't just late-night philosophical musings. They are literally the absolute outer boundaries of physics and metaphysics. Today, we're unpacking a source text that tackles both of these mysteries head-on.
Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to our explainer on the CTMU, where the cognitive theoretic model of the universe, and specifically, its core concept of reality as a self-processing language. Now, I gotta be totally honest with you right up front. This source material is famously dense. It is an incredibly ambitious, highly conceptual metaphysical framework that can definitely feel intimidating to parse. But, that is exactly why we're doing this. Think of this as a shared adventure. We're taking this heavy, jargon-filled text and translating it into a structured, highly accessible journey. By the time you reach the end, you're going to look at the very fabric of reality and your own place inside of it in a completely different, mind-bending way. To get there, we have a clear map. First, we'll cover the ultimate cosmic questions. Second, reality is a language. Third, order from infinite potential. Fourth, the fabric of space-time. And finally, number 5, the ultimate reality theory. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the ultimate cosmic questions, and exploring Wheeler's vision. So Wheeler proposed what he brilliantly called the self-excited circuit. Imagine a snake eating its own tail, but instead of a snake, it's made of reality itself. It's a continuous loop of informational logic. Step 1, physics, through billions of years of evolution, engenders an observer. Step 2, that observer, by simply perceiving and participating in the world, engenders information. And step 3, here is the real kicker, that information is what actually engenders the physics. It's not a straight predictable line from past to future at all. It's a closed loop where the universe is literally looking back at itself to establish its own existence. The CTMU takes this profound, loop-like dynamic and argues that it is the exact, perfect characterization of how our reality operates. To understand exactly how the universe acts as this self-excited circuit, we move to section 2, Reality is a Language, decoding SCSPL. Okay, so SCSPL stands for Self-Configuring Self-Processing Language. So what does it actually mean for reality to literally be a language? Well, the best way to grasp this is to think of a computer program. Normally, a programmer writes code on a keyboard, hits run, and the program executes blindly based on those external instructions, right? SCSPL, however, is like a program that writes its own code while simultaneously running it. In this model, the laws of physics aren't rigid external rules handed down from nowhere. They are essentially grammar. They are the syntax of a cosmic language that the universe is actively generating to process itself. It is a logical informational loop where reality is the author, the ink, and the story all at the exact same time. This represents a staggering paradigm shift in how we understand existence. Classically, we've been taught to view the universe as a giant cold machine, a cybernetic monstrosity blindly grinding away, following pre-established laws like clockwork. It's a very detached, robotic view of reality. But the CTMU tells a completely different, much more vibrant story. It says reality is not a dead machine. It's a self-theorizing living language that is absolutely identical to its universe. It is an active, evolving system. The laws of nature aren't just pushing us around. The universe is creating its own rules dynamically through the very act of observation. But if the universe is writing its own language dynamically, that leads us directly into section 3, Order from Infinite Potential, the blank page. Where exactly does the universe get the blank page to write on? How do you pull structure out of an absolute void? Well, the text introduces a concept here called unbound telesis, or UBT for short. Think of UBT as the ultimate boundary of the boundary of reality. It is a domain defined entirely by zero constraint and infinite possibility. A helpful way to picture this is to imagine television static before signal locks in, or maybe an uncarved block of marble that theoretically holds infinite potential statues inside of it. It's a zero information domain of pure, raw, ontological potential. It is the ultimate infinite blank page that exists right before the universe starts asking itself questions, establishing constraints, and writing its own grammatical syntax. So what is the chisel that carves that infinite block of marble? How do we get from pure chaotic potential to the highly structured reality you and I are experiencing right now? The text calls this mechanism the Telek principle. It is a protean law without law, where order is extracted from disorder. And the guiding force making this happen? It's utility. The universe actually configures its laws based on what is useful for the agent-level operators inside of it. Just think about what that means for you. It implies that the universe organizes itself specifically so that you, the observer participant, can exist to observe it. Reality literally shapes its own foundational laws to support the conscious agents experiencing it. It's a staggering thought. If reality is indeed a self-writing language built to support its observers, that completely shatters our traditional view of the physical world. Let's explore this in Section 4, The Fabric of Space-Time, Redefining Space and Time. This comparison right here is arguably the crux of this entire paradigm shift, and it's deeply profound. In this framework, space corresponds to information, and time corresponds to generalized cognition. So the absolute crucial point we have to absorb here is that time is not what we think it is. Time is not a clock ticking away in the background. It is not some external dimension that is just fed into existence. Instead, time is actively generated by the grammar of the self-processing language. Time is the literal act of the universe thinking. And space? Well, space is simply the information that the universe is thinking about. When you view space-time through this lens of a thinking universe, everything becomes incredibly connected. It begins with what the text calls the extended superposition principle. Basically, this suggests that future states of the universe are actually superposed or layered inside their past states. The past holds the potential for the future within it. Because of this deep structural nesting, the entire universe possesses a generalized consciousness. It has a unitary reflexivity. The cosmos is fundamentally self-aware in the way it processes itself, and this self-awareness naturally requires hyperconnectivity. Because reality is a shared evolving language, objects across space and time are linked in a massive web of teleological contact. In fact, this cosmic web actually exceeds the neural connectivity of a human brain. It is one singular, deeply connected, conscious, cosmic mind. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the ultimate reality theory, bridging the dualistic gulf. Can this bold, interconnected model actually solve the greatest mysteries of philosophy and physics? The source text emphatically argues yes, because of a few highly unique strengths. To start, the theory is super tautological. Now, a tautology is something inherently true by definition, like saying 1 + 1 = 2. The CTMU is built on logic so foundational that it claims to be true in the same unshakable way pure mathematics is true. This leads directly to its status as a monic theory of perception. For centuries, ever since Descartes, we've struggled with a dualistic gulf, the seemingly unbridgeable gap between the subjective mind and the objective physical universe. Most theories sit on one side, trying to describe the other. This framework eliminates that gulf entirely by making the theory, the mind, and the universe identical. Because of this, it has massive explanatory scope. It doesn't have to ignore consciousness, emotion, or subjective experience because it bakes them right into the fundamental physics. By injecting logic directly into reality as its foundational syntax, it achieves incredible theoretic autonomy. It explains the whole shebang using the universe's own internal rules. And that brings us to the core resolution of our explainer, perfectly synthesized in this quote directly from the text. The universe is a global SCSPL operator amounting to one vast, self-selective, self-expressive act of reflexive observer participation. This is the ultimate answer to John Archibald Wheeler's question of how come existence? The universe exists because it is a grand, self-expressive act. It requires observation to lock its infinite potential into reality. And you and I, the observer participants, we are not just tiny specks wandering through a cold void. No way. We are the vital, active mechanisms making that self-excited circuit run. We are literally the universe experiencing itself. So, after unpacking all of this dense, beautiful theory, from the blank page of pure infinite potential to a living, self-writing language where space is information and time is the act of cognition itself, I want to leave you with one final thought. If this framework holds true, you are not merely in the universe, you are a fundamental part of its cognitive architecture. So, how does it feel to be the universe's way of thinking about itself? Take a moment to sit with the sheer magnitude of that idea.